someone took all your money away today, and you were, the young Ross Beaty in today's environment, could you do it again? Is it a different world now compared to back then?
Yeah.
You could do it again.
Yeah, it's definitely a different world. It's definitely a different world. But yes, you can do it again. I mean, all the ingredients to success are, more than anything, hard work, a lot of drive, where you make the phone calls, you don't wait for the phone to ring. And that's true in any business, I think, in any sector. It's the people who have that extra bit of drive, not necessarily any smarter than anyone, but just that drive. If I'm looking to hire somebody, that's what I'm looking for. Somebody who's got drive, somebody who's got an interest in what they do, motivation to work hard, and then you put in place the ingredients for success. In our business, you put in place the opportunity to have lots and lots of drill holes, and because when you drill, usually you get bad results, but every so often you get good results, and it's a statistical thing. Obviously, you want to drill good projects, but not all of them work out. That's the nature of the business we're in. But boy, if you get a success, it goes straight to the bottom line. It's real, immediate capital value. And so you want to position yourself for that kind of success if you're in the exploration business. And if you're in the mining business, you want to watch two things. You want to watch, obviously, the size of the project you're in, because the bigger the project, the more valuable it's going to be for you. And you want to try to get your timing right on the commodities. So if you start a business at the top of the cycle, and the cycle goes against you for 4 years, you are going to have more and more difficulty funding your dreams and trying to build any kind of value at all. It's just going to be it's almost a losing proposition. It's very difficult. Whereas if you're starting at the bottom and you get your direction right, it's going to be a pretty happy time, because even if you buy something that is a marginal project, or acquire or discover something that's quite marginal, at one point in time the price rises, it has real tangible value, and you can sell it, you can develop it, you can do all kinds of ways to realize on that. You don't see that kind of thing in other businesses. That's what makes the mining business so beautiful when things go well, and so terrible when they don't.
I think that's right. But a few things you said there. I think one of the phrases you probably touched on earlier was also courage. You're not frightened to make a few mistakes along the way, and the wisdom comes with time, for sure. But the other thing you said there, was interesting to me, is there's why I ask about money. Having the money allows you to do things that some companies, some management teams don't make time to put in place, or are unable to put in place, because money can paper over cracks, but it can also, I say, through the drill bit, release potential, assuming you bought at the right price. So do you look at the market and go, boy, there's some nice assets there, they're struggling, I could do something with that?
Yeah, and I mean, that is a difference for sure between now and when I started out. I can certainly say that my last two large companies, Equinox Gold and my renewable energy company that was called Altera Power, which we ultimately sold to a big Montreal-based company a couple of years ago, both of those companies would not have done nearly what they did without my ability to back them financially. I was able to backstop Equinox Gold not once, not twice, but three times now, with a significant pot of cash that they needed to get kind of over that hurdle to acquire something, to finance a program. And with that support and my own, as you might have put it, my own brand, other shareholders came in at the same time to provide additional capital. And we were able to get over that hurdle and build scale, not just when we started, but several times since. I mean, the company is only 2.5 years old, so it's but we've done this now 3 or 4 times, where I was able to put a significant amount of cash in, and it really helped the story. I couldn't have done that if I was starting out with no money. Well, like I said, with my first company, I had no money. I mean, my total investment in that company was $3,000, and then I bought more shares every time I made some money. In something else, I would put in and buy more shares, and then so eventually I built up a decent position in the company before we sold the company. But today it is very different in that respect. If I was starting out today, you'd have to go through that struggle. But that's kind of what business is about. You start at one scale, and then if you develop things and are lucky enough to capitalize on it, you start again and you try to scale up like that. And that's very much my story. Um, I guess the one thread that has been consistent is I have been lucky. I have been very lucky in getting markets right, in making discoveries, in where I live and how I finance. I've had a lot of luck. I'm not saying you can't get that luck, or you couldn't get that luck if you started again today, but because the business does reward luck. I mean, it does have a lot of luck in it, and a lot of people do get that luck. So yeah, you could start today. I'm sure you could. This is a very long answer to your simple question of could you do something? Could I do something today, starting out as a young geologist, the way I was starting out in the early '80s? And I'm absolutely confident you can. In fact, I know people who are doing it. There are some young geologists out there. They're very smart, very dedicated, and hardworking people, and they're making big successes out of it. So sure.
So who do you?
However, can I just add one thing?
However,
the one thing is this. I do think this is not for everyone. So not every person is just made to be an entrepreneur. Thank God, because otherwise the world would spin out of control. So if you're going to try to get into this business, look at yourself in the mirror, ask yourself who you are, what you're good at, and if you feel you're actually not a risk taker, this is not a business for you. You shouldn't be an entrepreneur. You should be an employee, because you can be a great part of someone else's team and still be incredibly rewarded and fulfilled and make lots of money out of it. But if you're not born to be a risk taker, which is fundamentally what entrepreneurs are, I mean, I love risk. I thrive on risk. I embrace every time I see a risk. I just want to wrap my hands around it. It's a weird kind of a thing, but a lot of people aren't like that. My wife isn't like that. She's exactly the opposite. I mean, she's a doctor. Every time I sneeze, there's some horrible calamity that's happening to me, and so it's not for everyone, is what I'm saying. And if you're not an entrepreneur and you try to be, you're not going to succeed. So know who you are.
I think that's good advice. It's calculated, measured risk, but you're assessing multiple variables very quickly to make decisions. I like that. I think there's.
I use a coin. I flip a coin.
Nice. Keep it simple, right? Okay. I think that someone wrote a book about that. They went through a year making decisions based on the flip of a coin. Not sure it ended too well, but it could have. Can I just ask you about Equinox, please? Because we've interviewed Christian Millau a couple of times. Really nice guy. I like the story that he painted. And it'd probably give us a good chance to sort of understand your thinking when you're putting these teams together. Because, like you said, you financed them not once, not twice, but 3 times, and you've put together a bunch of companies for low grade bulk gold recovery. So, how did you get that team together? How did that story come to you? And what are you trying? And it's your last hurrah. So how's it going to finish?
So I like gold, first of all. The commodity, we're in a good secular bull market. And regardless of COVID, by the way, things that are going on in the world financial field and just generally with the amount of money that's floating around the world and being stimulated every place today, it's just the macro environment for gold's fabulous. And it started being fabulous in about 2015, 16. So I had a couple of gold investments. Of course, I have my silver company, Pan American. It's exposed to gold and silver markets pretty well, but I really like gold, and I had just sold in 2017 my renewable energy business that I spent much of the last 8 years working on, and I kind of wanted to have a last hurrah in gold and build something at scale, something that the market wanted today. And that is size. The market is very different than it was 20 years ago. It really rewards scale. We have all this robot money, the ETF money, the computer-based buying and selling, and so much of the investment today is dumb money. So what that is rewarded by is getting scale, getting something with a lot of liquidity and size and leverage. So I had a little company that was a cash shell. I good friends with Richard Warwick. He had a gold business that was kind of just sitting out there as a one asset company called Newcastle, Newcastle. And then Christian Malau and his team had a gold company with an asset in Brazil that was kind of not really going anywhere particularly. So we thought if we put them all together, we could build something at scale, and that was something that made sense to me. I agreed to chair it and to make it my last company, and so we named it after my first company. Equinox Gold was named after my first company, Equinox Resources, as a kind of a way to bookend my careers with Equinoxes and gold companies. And we went out hard. We started the company. It went public just right at the very beginning of 2018 as a three-way merger, and we really haven't looked back. We bought a gold mine in California and an operating gold mine at the end of 2018, which gave us one producer, a little bit of gold production that year, 25,000 ounces. In 2019. 2019, because we then opened up our mine in Brazil. We had a little more gold production. We produced 200,000 ounces last year. And then at the end of the year, we acquired Leo Gold, which has now built a significant 6-mine portfolio, 2 development projects, one in California and one in Brazil, plus the expansion of a mine in Mexico. And we're going to produce over 600,000 ounces this year, and we'll be on the road to about 1 million ounces sometime next year. So it's been just an absolutely exponential growth. And that's precisely what I felt was the right strategy today to get leverage to gold in both operating business on an income statement and also on your balance sheet with respect to very large gold reserves and resources. I think we have something like 24 million ounces now in our reserves and resources. So it's a very, very leveraged vehicle now. That the market has absolutely embraced the business plan. The guys are good, strong managers. Mostly the management team is Christian's team, supplemented by now some strong people from the Leo Gold teams. So Equinox Gold now is a mid-tier producer going on the way to the journey towards becoming a senior producer. And there's no magic to 1 million ounces a year, but it does separate you. If you hit 1 million ounces a year, there's only 15 companies in the whole world that produce 1 million ounces or more. So you're in a very small club, and it's a club that investors want today. They want that size, they want that liquidity, the ability to go in and out with big volumes of money, and we now deliver that. So we've grown very satisfactorily in the last couple of years from that idea that we created back in end of 2017.
Okay, so lovely idea. You brought it together with the people who surround you and your own capital, and you built that into, right. Was it $1 billion, $2 billion? What's it at today?
Right now, Canadian dollars, it's about $2.5 billion US, about $1.8 billion.